Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be reviewing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 36-27 loss versus the New Orleans Saints on Halloween night. If you guys are new here, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button if you do enjoy these types of videos, and leave your thoughts about this game, which I'm sure a lot of you have plenty of thoughts about this game, down in the comment section below. This is, I imagine, what a lot of people are going to say, a frustrating game. And I agree 100%. This was absolutely a frustrating game. Throughout the entirety of the game, all the way to the end where it ended in frustrating fashion, there was so much to this game, right? And it's always tough whenever the Buccaneers play the Saints, and this game was no different. The Saints got the better of the Buccaneers in this game. The Buccaneers move on to 6-2 going into the bye week, and guys, at the end of the day, they're going to be fine. Remember what I just said. They're 6-2 going into the bye week. That's still one of the best records in the entire league. I believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are still in the lead in the NFC South. I don't think that this win by the Saints leapfrogs them over the Buccaneers in that respect. So the Bucs, at the end of the day, are still one of the top teams in the NFC, and they are still, if not in the lead, nearing the lead of the NFC South division race. So let's just all take a deep breath, accept the loss, and talk about some of the good and some of the bad from this game. And there is a lot to talk about here, right? Let's go ahead and start with the good. Start on the positive notes, right? First things first, Chris Godwin. I thought that Chris Godwin played a phenomenal game today. 11 targets, 8 receptions, 140 yards, and a touchdown. Chris Godwin seems to always play really, really well versus the Saints, and this game was no different. I thought that Chris Godwin played a fantastic game, and I was really happy with the job that he was able to do. Tyler Johnson had a good game today, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 65 yards. He stepped up very well in the absence of Antonio Brown, which I thought was a very solid, good thing to see. So did somebody else later on in the game, but we'll get to that player in a moment. Tyler Johnson overall had a solid performance. Giovani Bernard finished this game with only 1 target with 1 reception, but he did score a touchdown, so he does go on the good list for that. I always like to give guys who scored touchdowns shine on the good list. Giovani Bernard is no different there. Mike Evans, I thought, had a relatively quiet day, only targeted 4 total times. Marshon Lattimore continues to play really well against Evans, but to Evans' credit here, he did have 2 receptions for 48 yards and a touchdown. So, again, he scored a touchdown. He goes on the good list. And then finally, the last guy from the offensive side of the football, Cyril Grayson Jr. What? Right? What did he do in this game? Well, very late in the game, he had the touchdown that put the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the lead against the Saints before the Saints would eventually go back, take the lead, and unfortunately the Tampa Bay Buccaneers weren't able to make that comeback yet again, but Cyril Grayson had a 50-yard bomb of a touchdown thrown by Tom Brady. It was probably the play of the game. I think it was, in my opinion, and it was probably the play of Cyril Grayson's career. It was absolutely a very awesome thing to see. Almost won the Bucs the game. Unfortunately, it didn't, but I'm really happy for Grayson there that he was able to get that opportunity and make the most of it by scoring a long bomb touchdown for Tom Brady. I'm sure he will never forget that as long as he lives. And then moving on to the defensive side of the football, guys, there really isn't many people to highlight here. Jordan Whitehead had 9 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection. He played some all-right football. Levante David, 8 total tackles. He played decent. And then Ndamukong Suh, I think that he genuinely had a good game. 4 total tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and 2 quarterback hits. He was arguably the best pass rusher on the day for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Vita Vea continued to do some Vita Vea things. He finished this game with 3 total tackles and 2 quarterback hits. He is still a monster in the run game, and he can still apply pressure when he needs to, but aside from that, guys, that really is it. I know what people are going to say is, why isn't Tom Brady on the good list? You look at his stat line, 28 of 40, 375 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And to be fair, that is great numbers, right? That is some really good numbers, and that is good. We can include the good of Tom Brady on this good list, I think. The yardage and the touchdowns was great. But there were also some hiccups there that I will talk about in a moment whenever we come now to the bad list. The first thing that popped out to me was Ross Cockrell and Pierre Desir. Both these guys did struggle at certain points in pass coverage. I would say more so Pierre Desir than Ross Cockrell. I definitely think Pierre Desir was targeted a pretty healthy amount in this game, which is unfortunate. Pierre Desir was playing basically as the number one cornerback in this game, and the Saints took advantage of that in certain clutch situations when they needed to, and that was unfortunate. So Pierre Desir did struggle in this game. Ross Cockrell struggled a little bit, not as much as Pierre Desir, but a little bit. Again, I think both these guys can bounce back, but they did struggle in this game. And the next thing I need to talk about, 100% need to talk about, was the penalties. This was one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason, that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost this football game, guys. 11 total penalties for 100 yards. Let me go ahead and say that again. 11 total penalties for 100 total yards. That'll lose you a game, basically, 10 times out of 10, I want to say? That'll lose you a game almost every single time, is the point. You can't get penalties like that. You cannot do it. And they were all mainly on the defensive side of the football. The lack of discipline that the defense showed in this game was not a good thing. And I get it, right? The Saints are a frustrating team to face, not just for Bucs fans, but for Bucs players as well. The Saints are really good at getting under the skins of their opponents. Devin White had a really just not good, unsportsmanlike, taunting type penalty today. Dumb penalty. You can't have that. Will Golston had a roughing the passer penalty. Dumb penalty. Absolutely ridiculous. Ross Cockrell had a holding penalty. Dumb penalty. You can't have it. I mean, the Will Golston penalty especially wiped out an interception that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had in the end zone. That could have changed the entire flow of this game, but instead, the Buccaneers defense let this Saints team get under their skin, which resulted in penalties. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. I can't say that enough times. You can't win games whenever you're getting double-digit type penalties like this. I've been preaching this for years, and I'm going to continue to preach this whenever games like this do come up. So they have got to 1000% fix those penalties. I think that is going to be something that is going to be of great importance for the Buccaneers in this bye week. The next thing I have to mention, and this is what I was talking about earlier when analyzing Tom Brady and his play in this game, is the turnovers. Tom Brady had 2 turnovers in this game and a fumble as well that was recovered by the Saints. The last fumble the last interception of the game was returned by a touchdown, and it was what resulted in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers losing this game to the Saints, was that last interception there by Tom Brady. So while Tom Brady did have a lot of good, he did have a couple of interceptions, one that did lose them the game at the end of the day, and he had a fumble as well. And I'm going to point out the good and the bad with Tom Brady. You know, there were some mistakes that were made there, and I think Tom Brady would admit that himself. 2 interceptions and a fumble is not good. Those turnovers need to get cleaned up. I think they will get cleaned up. That is definitely an outlier from Tom Brady, having that many turnovers in a game, and I know for a fact that it will get corrected. The tackling was also not good in certain situations as well. I go back to the secondary. Pierre Desir, Ross Cockrell, some of the linebackers like Devin White. These guys struggled to make tackles in really, really important situations where they needed to make tackles, and that resulted in the Saints getting a lot of good yardage on just poor tackling types of plays. And it was a very frustrating thing to see. It did get corrected a little bit in the second half. I think, more so than what we saw in the first half, but it was still present, and the tackling does have to get better. Again, these are fundamental types of things, right, guys? Penalties, turnovers, tackling. It's got to get better. It's got to get better, and it seems like these problems always rear their ugly heads when they play the Saints. Hopefully that streak will be broken somewhere down the line later on this season, but again, it's good that the Buccaneers have this bye week now to refresh and refuel going into their game versus the Washington football team. And Jalen Darden struggled a little bit as a returner today. He did have a really good end around from Tom Brady that he did take for, I believe, 9-10 yards, something along those lines. I like that they're using Jalen Darden in that way. But in terms of him as a returner today, he struggled mightily. He fell on a couple of his returns. And it begs the question, do the Bucs go back to Jaydon Mickens as their main returner? I really don't know. We'll have to wait and see what the team does decide to do at the end of the day, but Darden did struggle in this game. I don't know if it was because of the field. I don't know if it was just because Jalen Darden was having an off game, but he did struggle as a returner today. And then finally, guys, I'm going to kind of point out the offensive line a little bit. Brady was sacked 3 total times. Granted, 2 of those times was towards the end of the game. 4 quarterback hits, 3 sacks for the Saints defense. Not a bad game by any stretch, but I do know Brady was getting, well, it's not a great game. Let me say that. It's not a good game either. It's like just maybe a below average game, right? It's a below average game here from the offensive line, and I know that Brady was getting pressured a decent amount during this game, and you could tell. So, all in all, guys, there was a lot of fundamental problems here that resulted in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers loss. I think that you can just point blank chalk it up to that. Penalties, turnovers, tackling, and I don't care who the quarterback is, right? I know people are going to go in the comments and say, man, we lost to Trevor Siemian, a third-string quarterback for the Saints. How could we have done this? I don't care who the quarterback is. If you're getting as many penalties as the Bucs got today, if you're turning the ball over as much as the Bucs offense was today, and you're doing as poor of a job as tackling as the Buccaneers defense did today, you're not going to win football games. I don't care who is in at quarterback. I don't care what the other team has at their disposal. You won't win. Point blank, simple as that. So, got to give a lot of credit to the Saints here. Their defense is still one of the best defenses in the league. I said that in the preview. I still think Saints defensive coordinator Dennis Allen will be a future head coach in this league. I think he deserves that. And yeah, the Saints are always a tough team. Sean Payton and his coaching staff got the better of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their coaching staff today. And just a pure lack of fundamentals, I think, is the biggest reason as to why the Buccaneers lost this game, point blank. Simple as that. Also, Jameis Winston did suffer a knee injury in this game today, which was really unfortunate to see. Regardless of your thoughts of Jameis Winston, one way or the other, you never want to see people get hurt, so thoughts and prayers do go to Jameis Winston that he is able to recover from his injury in a timely manner. But with that being said, guys, the Buccaneers now drop to 6-2. They're going into the bye week, and all in all, this bye week was pretty much needed after a game like this. Thank goodness the Buccaneers have some time to reassess themselves, get away from an ugly loss like this, take some time to recover, and get into the game versus the Washington football team, looking hopefully like a rejuvenated team that has cleaned up a lot of the mistakes that we saw in this Saints game today, and I think that will be what we will see from the Buccaneers come that game on November 14th versus the Washington football team. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts about all of this down in the comments section below. What did you think about my review of this game? What did you think about this Buccaneers game in general? Give your guys' thoughts. I would love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed. Now we'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.